The restaurant went silent. Crystal glasses paused midair. Forks froze above white plates. The girl stood there barefoot, clutching a worn backpack. Her voice shook, but her eyes didn't. "Ma'am, I recognize this missing child." Every head turned toward the woman in the tailored cream suit, the millionaire, Victoria Hale. Her smile collapsed. The framed photo on the wall, a little girl, age 6, blonde curls, blue dress, labeled missing 12 years ago. Victoria's hand trembled as she looked down at the girl standing in front of her. Same eyes, same scar near the brow. Security stepped forward. Victoria whispered, breaking, "That's impossible." Because if the girl was right, everything Victoria built was about to burn. The girl's name was Elena Brooks, 14 years old, raised in shelters, moved through 3 foster homes and 1 overcrowded group house. She cleaned tables at night for leftover food. That's why she was in the restaurant. Victoria Hale sat frozen, CEO of Hale Pharmaceuticals, worth 9 figures, surrounded by executives who worshipped her success. To them, Elena was invisible. Just another poor kid who wandered in too far. The restaurant manager, Charles Whitman, already had his phone out. Security hovered close. Elena swallowed hard and spoke again. "I used to see that photo every day. At the shelter. The missing girl. They never found her." Victoria's voice cracked. "My daughter died in a fire." Elena shook her head slowly. She didn't. Because Elena remembered the night everything burned. And so did someone else in the room. The room filled with whispers. Phones slid out quietly. Someone started recording. Victoria stood up too fast. Her chair screeched against the marble floor. "This is a mistake," she said sharply. "Get her out." Security stepped closer. Elena didn't move. Instead, she reached into her backpack with shaking hands and pulled out a folded paper, old, yellowed, edges soft from being handled too many times. A police report. "I wasn't supposed to keep this," Elena said. "But I did." Charles Whitman scoffed. "You expect us to believe paperwork from a street kid?" Elena looked straight at him. "This paper lists the fire as an accident. But it also says—" She swallowed. "One child was removed before emergency services arrived." The whispers turned into murmurs. Victoria's face drained of color. Elena continued, her voice gaining strength. "I remember the man who carried me out. He wore a suit. He smelled like cologne, not smoke." Someone in the crowd gasped. Elena pointed slowly at Victoria. "You didn't lose your daughter," she said. "You erased her." Victoria slammed her hand on the table. "That's enough." But it was too late. A woman near the bar spoke up. "I worked that case," she said softly. "I always wondered why the timeline didn't match." Elena reached back into her bag again. This time she pulled out a small silver necklace. The room went dead silent. Victoria's necklace. The one she never took off. Victoria's breath hitched. Her hand flew to her chest. The necklace Elena held up was identical. Same silver chain, same tiny firefly charm. Victoria whispered, barely audible. "That was custom made." Elena nodded. "You gave it to me on my 6th birthday." The room exploded. Gasps. A chair toppled over. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Victoria staggered backward, gripping the table like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "No," she said. No, this can't be happening." Elena stepped closer. "I remember hiding under the stairs when the fire started," she said. "I remember coughing, crying, and then you." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "You told me to be quiet," Elena continued. "You said the cameras were watching. You said people couldn't know I survived." Charles Whitman's mouth hung open. A man in a dark coat pushed forward. Detective Mark Reynolds, badge already in hand. "We reopened this case 2 months ago," he said calmly. "Anonymous tip. New evidence." He looked at Victoria. Turns out Hale Pharmaceuticals was about to collapse back then. Insurance payout, sympathy, a perfect rebirth story. Victoria collapsed into her chair. "I was scared," she sobbed. "I was going to lose everything." Elena's voice broke, but she didn't look away. "So you let me lose everything instead." The detective gestured. Officers moved in. Victoria didn't resist. As the cuffs clicked shut, the restaurant stood frozen, witnessing the fall of a legend. Elena watched silently. No smile. No anger. Just a quiet truth finally spoken aloud. Because the missing child wasn't dead. She was standing right there. Alive. Seen. The news broke before sunrise. Billionaire CEO arrested in 12-year-old disappearance case. Outside the courthouse, cameras crowded the steps. Reporters shouted questions. Victoria Hale kept her head down. Inside, Elena sat quietly beside Detective Reynolds, hands folded, calm in a way only someone who had survived too much could be. The judge ordered a full investigation. Insurance fraud. Child endangerment. False death declaration. Hale Pharmaceuticals board removed Victoria within hours. But the loudest moment didn't come from the courtroom. It came from the community. Former shelter workers stepped forward. Old case files resurfaced. Families who had donated after the fire demanded answers. And for the first time, Elena wasn't alone. A social worker knelt in front of her. "You're safe now," she said. Weeks later, Elena stood in a small garden behind a new foster home. Sunlight on her face, wind in her hair. She wore the firefly necklace again, not as proof, but as closure. Detective Reynolds asked, "Do you want to change your name?" Elena shook her head. "I spent years being invisible," she said softly. "I don't want to disappear again." Justice didn't erase the pain, but it gave her something better. Dignity, truth, a future. Because no amount of money can bury a life. And no child should ever be erased to protect power. Some voices are quiet, but they carry the truth loud enough to change everything.